Hey guys, this is Jameson. I also go by Pixel Illustrator on the R Game Dev subreddit. Somebody in my last video, I believe it was that I posted, had suggested that because I don't have sound or music for the game yet, that I should maybe do some commentary to fill in, the big voids of noise. And I thought that was a really good idea, and it also gives me the opportunity to kind of explain the game better than I possibly could through a dev blog post or something like that, or a video without sound even. So this will be a little bit interesting because basically I only have 10 minutes because I have the free version of Bandicam, and I'm playing the game at the same time that I'm talking to you guys because I have not gotten any video editing software yet to talk after the fact. So, I've got this big notepad of notes here. And I'm just going to talk to you guys real quickly about the influences behind this game. I've tried to do this video like 3 times already, and I keep going over it, and I'm already at a minute, so let's get started. So let's first talk about the games that influenced the art style behind it. Irrespective of gameplay, the art style is the most important thing to me in this game. Honestly, I would love to be an actual pixel, like an industry pixel artist. Right now, I'm just kind of a freelancer. Most of my work is done by I get through the vector work that I do. It's really cartoony stuff. You can see it in my portfolio if you want. But for the art side of things, a lot of the artwork in the game is very inspired by old school JRPGs, and I think that anybody can probably see that because when you think about airships, I'm going to guess that 90% of you out there probably associate them with a JRPG of some sort. It's always the last vehicle that you unlock. It's always the thing that lets you go over the mountains or get to the floating island that you couldn't get to before. It's pretty important. But the funny thing is, despite the fact that I would say probably almost a majority of JRPGs actually have airships that the player commands at some point, they're always just a car. Like, you just use them to get from point A to point B. It's nothing more than that, and that's kind of depressing. Now, one of the big influences of the game that did break that mold was Skies of Arcadia, and that was one of my favorite JRPGs of all time. I don't play a lot of modern JRPGs anymore. Honestly, there's a lot of reasons for that I won't get into, but Skies of Arcadia was always a very, very fun game to me. Now, it didn't quite hit the mark perfectly. I think it left a lot of undiscovered territory to push things in. So that's kind of where I wanted to go with this. And then, a bunch of other things that kind of influenced it were, the other big JRPG game. Well, it's not a JRPG game. It is a Japanese game. Was ActRaiser, which I really love because it's got this really cool idea of kind of passive unit building would be the best way of putting it, I guess, or something along those lines. Where basically the player played a god, but you couldn't tell the people, your underlings, to build something for you. Basically, what you had to do is you could tell them where to build out towards, and then they would fill in, with houses. And all this other stuff. So, it was an interesting idea, and I thought it worked really well. Plus, the other thing that's really great about ActRaiser is it merged game genres. So, you had your Castlevania hack and slash moments, and then, you also had your awesome pseudo RTS bit, and it was really cool. So that's it for basically art style. Old school games in general, JRPGs definitely, airship designs for that. Last Exile, as far as anime goes, I don't watch a lot of anime either anymore, but Last Exile definitely, like, seriously, the airship designs in that show are just beautiful, gorgeous. So as for gameplay, I've cited in a few older posts stuff like RTSs and arena shooters. Now, the funny thing is, I actually really only like one of those two genres, and that's the arena shooters. The RTSs, I have not really gotten into an RTS in a long time. To be honest, I'm trying to think of the last one that I really got into. And it's not that I think that they're bad games. Far from it. I think that they have the potential to be really great games, and I'm not saying that, like, StarCraft 2 is not something short of just awesome. But what I am saying is, like, I don't really enjoy them, and I think that the biggest reason for that is because it's impossible to associate with an avatar. You have units on the field, but none of them as an individual is really all that important, to be honest. They're very, very much expendable. So that kind of ends up making things interesting for me because I prefer, a game where I actually have something vested in the character, or at least the avatar that I'm representing. And you just really don't get that with an RTS. Which is pretty much the exact opposite with the arena shooter. An arena shooter, everything is about your avatar. Like, that is literally your entire world, because they die in one hit usually, and if you mess up, it definitely has its repercussions. If you let your one unit die, it's game over. So, like I said, probably the biggest RTS aspect to the game, or biggest RTS influence would be something, like I said, like ActRaiser, as I mentioned earlier. Arena shooters, it's interesting. I really like arena shooters, but this game does not handle like a traditional arena shooter. When you think about something like Super Stardust, or even Asteroids, as old as it is, you think of a lot of mayhem on screen. This game does not have as much of that. Honestly, the game is not about, fighting 100 enemies at once. It's about one-on-one engagements, and anything more than that, you're probably outnumbered, and at that point, you're going to find it really difficult to keep going. So while it does have arena shooter elements, it's not like a traditional arena shooter. The enemies are tough on their own, as you can see with me fighting this massive seahorse. The way that the game handles is you really probably should only, like I said, you should only be fighting one or two at the most at a time, because really it's all about that naval combat strategy that I've talked about before in some blog posts. Bringing your ship broadside so that you can really hammer them with your main guns. Now, I'll go over gameplay just a little bit here, but basically, as you can see, I fire a different kind of gun when I hold down on right-click. These are the main cannons, and then what I just shot out there was a mine, and then if I shoot from the front of my ship, it's a harpoon. And then you have a minigun kind of thing that you can fire at any time, and it has an overheat meter. So, it doesn't have ammo, which everything else does, but it does have an overheat. And it's very weak. It's really only good for, like, taking out cannon fodder. Other than that, it's just, support, and, you basically just gotta work with what you've got other than that. So basically, it's just, it's a game, that, it's a lot of different things, but it's not quite any one of them. Another thing that a lot of people likened it to, and I have not played the game, so I cannot attest to this myself, I have been meaning to play it though, is Netstorm. And after having seen gameplay videos, I think I can say with some certainty that it is similar in many ways to Netstorm. There's, obviously there's the connotation where Netstorm and this both have the player in floating island type areas, but I wouldn't say they're exactly the same. But they have a lot of resemblances. So yeah, that's basically what I wanted to talk about. Influences, like I said, Skies of Arcadia, ActRaiser. A lot of people cited Netstorm, even though I didn't play it, so I can't really say that. Super Stardust, Asteroids, definitely. One of the things that I've always thought is really hilarious about Asteroids is that the controls in that game are terrible. I mean, not so much the aiming controls, like, it's tank controls, you just move left or right. But, basically moving anywhere but the center of the screen for anybody that's anything like a novice player is suicide, which is hilarious. The game designers kind of tried to get around that with the warp system, where you can press a button and you just warp, and it's kind of an interesting idea because it is very useful. You can get you out of a lot of jams, but it also like ends up completely screwing with you because the center of the screen is the best place to be in that. You have the biggest area where you can actually see, and it's funny to me, to say the least. So I kind of like the idea of like controls that aren't quite perfect. But yeah, so that'll have to wait for another video because I am running up on my 10-minute mark. I'll probably try to do more of these in the future, and actually get you guys an idea of the gameplay, and explain a lot of these crazy bars and system. I mean, look at all these bars. These are crazy. That's how you know a game's good. You got all these bars. You got this crazy UI. Got there's a magic bar. There's like 3 more bars. There's 4 more bars, and then 4 over here. You got your speed gauge at all times. Your timer. Yeah, it's crazy. I'm gonna have to really go through this. So anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this. I'm gonna do more, like I said, and hopefully my voice doesn't sound quite like fingernails on glass. So anyways, if you like this, please follow the dev blog, and I'll see you guys later.